Hey there, humans! Drop whatever you're doing unless it involves glassware, because it's time for Creepy Cheapies, once again, where we take a look at the best in latex monster masks. Today's mask on Creepy Cheapies is something that I think is just a fantastically great mask. It came out in 2021 from Trick-or-Treat-Studios, and people haven't paid enough attention to it, I think. So let's try to rectify that. And before we even get started, let me remind you that the licensing agreement between Universal Studios, Classic Monster Studio that they are, Universal Studios and Trick-or-Treat Studios, the mask manufacturing company, was announced that it was ending at the end of 2023, which means by the time you see this mask will probably have ceased production, and I hope you can score one for a decent price. When it was available, it was only about 60 bucks, which is not bad at all for such a nice mask. I hope that by the time you see this, you don't have to pay $34,000 to get one because it's been discontinued. But just so you know, if you're looking around for it and you have a hard time finding it, if it's scarce in the future or if the price goes up or something. It was discontinued in 2023, so it was only in production for a couple of years, but it's this handsome devil, one of the mole people. How do I know? Look right there, you see, look at that tag with the movie poster right on there where it says mole persons. See that? Now, if you came over to my house and you knew I was a mask designer, say, and I said, hey, look at this monster that I designed here, what do you think? And you might be like, oh, cool, what is it, like a bug, like an insect man from outer space? And I told you, no, it's a mole man. You would wonder what I was thinking of, and you'd be like, I didn't know he drank, you know, because it doesn't look much like a mole. I mean, realistically, if an ape man has long hair like an ape, and if a wolf man has sharp teeth and pointed ears like a wolf, you would think a mole man would have a long pointy nose and tiny little eyes that he can barely see out of, and he would look sort of rodent-like. And yet, this mole man right here has these bizarre big eyes and really nondescript sort of set of indistinct features there, and no mouth or expression that you can figure out, although his eyes look a little bit feisty. Now, there are a couple of schools of thought on that, and I flunked out of both of them, but let's go on. One theory is, and I believe this is actually the correct answer, in the movie The Mole People, which came out in 1956, I believe in the movie when the person who came up with the title decided, let's call this movie The Mole People, I don't think they were talking about the monsters really. I think they were talking sort of metaphorically, okay, about the underground race of humans, because there's actually a race of people living underground that they find underneath the mountains, and there are humans, and then there are these creatures that are the slaves to the humans. I think they were just kind of saying the mole people in the way that people say, like, the human cannonball or something like that. You know, he's not the human fly, the Birdman of Alcatraz. I think they were referring to the fact that the humans in the film live underground in the dark, in the dirt, kind of like moles. Not actually but since these creatures weren't given names in the movie, everybody came away with the impression that these were the mole people. And then Don Post Studios came out with a great mask. I happen to have one here to show you so we can compare. This is an old 1960s, well, I tell a lie. This is actually a 1998 reissue of the same mask originally produced in the 60s. This is the Don Post Classic Mole Man as seen on the world famous and incalculably influential monster calendar of 1966. This is a Don Post Mole People, okay? And this is a Trick-or-Treat Studios 2021 Mole People, and I'm not like messing with this. It really is much larger, which is not you know, not a big deal. Doesn't make it a better mask, does it? And the only thing the Don Post one really has over the Trick-or-Treat one is that it has flocking. I don't know if you can see that, but flocking is the word for when something has been artificially given a sort of fuzzy surface like a peach, like peach fuzz. So all these bumps have the flocking, and the Trick or Treat one doesn't. It's just painted. I don't think that's a deal breaker. I don't think that's that important. This is such a great looking mask. But getting back to why they're called mole people, if you're not buying my theory about that it just sort of happened by accident, because it does say right here on the Trick or Treat Studios tag, it says Mole Man. So see, and everybody still thinks this is a mole person. Well, it's pretty obvious that since he doesn't look like a mole, you see these lumps all over him? You know what those are? Moles. Yeah. He's got lots and lots of moles. He should really get to a doctor and get those checked. Now, I don't mean checked like squared off instead of round. The round pattern is actually better than checks would be, I think. Although Chex Mix is good, so... Anyway, great mask, sculpted by the late David Smith, who unfortunately died since then. And, well, it was certainly unexpected to me. I didn't know there was anything even wrong with David Smith. I did not know him super well, but I knew him a little bit ever since the 1980s. And he was a good guy. He was a wonderful, wonderful sculptor. It just didn't get any better in terms of monster sculpting than David Smith. He was that good. And this is one of his last works, apparently, for Trick or Treat Studios, the Mole People. Now, if you notice, this one has funny eye centers. The pupils were cut out larger in the Don Post version, and they look funny here, probably with the lighting and such, because I have little plastic LED balls glued in there, well, taped actually. I have little LED lights taped in there, because one year at Halloween we did a garden scene, and we set up, it was indoors, but it had, you know, grass and plants and stuff all over the ground to look like a garden. And I had like 5 or 6 of these Don Post Mole Man masks that looked like they were coming out of holes in the ground. And we had a gardener that was, you know, dressed and holding, I think it was a rake, and he was, you know, trying to rid the garden of mole people. And if you thought trying to rid your garden of moles was tough, imagine mole people. You know, so he was basically a giant-sized game of whack-a-mole people going on. No, that has nothing to do with guacamole. No, that's something else you're thinking of. That's guacamole, and that's not. Never mind. Anyway, the Mole People mask sold for around $60-65, and fantastically detailed. And again, doesn't look like a mole, but it's still a classic monster from the 50s. And I think the main reason it's viewed as a classic today is because of the Don Post mask. I think that sort of skyrocketed the Mole People to popularity more than the movie itself. And it really looks so great right out of the package. I did not do anything to this one. I did think of one thing I would try, and I tried this in terms of the paint. Sometimes I like to customize. I tried this, and maybe helped a little. You see the difference here? This one, I have outlined the eyes with a little bit of red, okay? And I honestly, I'll tell you this because this is kind of a secret, so don't tell anybody, okay? I didn't really use red paint even, like you're supposed to. No, I just used blood paint. And I painted a little bit of shiny red around the edge of the eye to make it a little more natural looking, so you don't get the effect of paintbrush strokes where the yellow meets the brown like you do on some copies of the mask. Extremely minor. See what you think. Maybe you think it looks better, maybe you don't. I don't know. The other thing I did was in the crease there in his, what would pass for a mouth if he had a face, okay? That I put a little red in there as well, because why not? It appears to be some sort of feeding area, although we don't know how the Mole People really consume food. I assume they shove it between those weird wrinkly little things they have there at the mandibles there. But that's the Mole People. I highly recommend. I think every collection should have a mole man in it. I wish they had come out with hands, but they didn't. Don Post did back in the day, but Trick or Treat didn't come out with Mole People hands. So don't be looking for those when you're shopping online, looking for the excellent Trick or Treat Studios Mole People mask. And I don't really have a way to end this video. You guys, do you want to end it with your theme song? Okay, they'll do that. They'll do their theme song for you. I'm a mole man. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm a mole man. I'm a mole man. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ow!